Alright, hi, my name is Makasy, and today we're going to do a bit of business analysis or fashion analysis. So I will be looking down at my laptop a bit more than usual. Please forgive me. I'm trying my best to make eye contact and just riff, but there's a lot of information I got to give to you. There's a lot of ground I got to lay out so everybody can be on the same page. So I'm going to be looking down quite a bit, but it's fine. It's about the information, about the eye contact. Alright, so as the title suggested, this is what I would have done with Raf Simon and whole CK205 thing. Alright, so what's my qualification to speak on this topic? Am I a big fashion influencer? No. Am I working in a marketing firm for a fashion something? No. My qualification is I have an iPhone and a decent amount of subscribers. And I'm gonna speak about it. I'm gonna tell you my opinions, but you don't have to, it's based on common sense and a bit of a business acumen that I have attained throughout my college. So let's get into it. Before we get into it, we need to establish the players in all of this scenario, in all of this business scenario. So first of all, we have Raf Simon, a Belgian designer, very, very well respected, but I'm starting to like him less and less. I still think he's a great designer, but it's harder to like his stuff nowadays, now that I've gone into the deeper end of the fashion world. And like, when you get into the light of Rick Owen with Yoji, with Comb, a hoodie with some printed letter on there, it's not cutting it anymore. Like, I still like some of his stuff, but I don't like his collection as a whole that much anymore. Like lately, I prefer Bodhi, I prefer Rick, I prefer looking at what else do I like? I like a bit, I don't like Margiela under Galliano that much, but I respect what he's doing to the house. Like the codes that was laid out by Martin was still there. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but yeah, I'm starting to like less and less of Raf Simon because like I can only take so much hoodie with some printed letters on there, you know? Another player I have to talk about is Calvin Klein, a shit brand that's known for their commercial, specifically their underwears commercials and posters in New York. Oh, and their shit logo with the CK. The big player is the PVH Corp, previously known as the Philip Van Heusen Corporation. It's a conglomerate based in America. Think of LVMH, but way, way poorer and less influential. That's what PVH is. They own the Leica Tommy Hilfiger and some other shit that you don't care about. They license brands such as Kenneth Cole and Michael Kors. You know, doesn't scream luxury conglomerate to me, you know, Kenneth Cole and Michael Kors. All right, so let's rewind the clock back to when Raf was appointed as the creative director or like visionary director. He pretty much was in charge of everything. So this is what according to Vox and Business of Fashion article, Raf would be in charge of literally everything. He hired Sterling Ruby to redesign a lot of Calvin stores. I know specifically the one in New York. He was in charge of the Calvin Klein collection to Calvin Klein Platinum, white label, jeans, underwear, and home brands. In addition to design, Simmons will also oversee global marketing, communication, and visual creative services, giving him the kind of control that only Calvin Klein himself once exerted. According to the same article, and just common sense, PVH wanted Raf to turn Calvin Klein into like a big luxury brand again that can compete in Gucci, with Balenciaga, with Prada, because like Calvin Klein, the brand has been a bit diluted because like they're targeting all markets, and if you want to be a luxury market, if you want to be a luxury clothing store, you need to just target one thing, which is the luxury market. Like even if your shirt is supposed to only price $40, you gotta price at $500, even if it's not justifiable, because you're targeting one demographic, which is the rich people. But Calvin Klein has been diluting their brand for years, for decades now, to just grab the market, because like you can find their Calvin Klein t-shirt, the logo t-shirt, for like $20, $30. Now the differences between that Calvin Klein $20, $30 t-shirt and a Balenciaga $20, $30 t-shirt is really just the price point. It's cotton. It's 100% cotton. It's the same thing. And it's just where it's made. Like, it's made in Italy, Balenciaga, it's made in the US or China with Calvin Klein. So once again, he was appointed in 2016, and then he quit or part way amicably in 2018. He was fired because like it wasn't profitable, and Raf was burning through the money through his, trying to change the house. So some more background now. This is according to Vox. They did a whole article. I can link it down in the description below, but let me read this out to you. So In an earnings call, PVH said it had invested as much as $70 million into the Calvin Klein rebrand under Simmons, which much of the money go into the 205 collection. The brand reported earnings of $121 million that quarter, down from $142 million from previous years because of an increase in creative and marketing expenditures. This just means that, you know, the expense outweighed the revenue, so they were not profitable. Now, before we get into like why I believe that Raf failed at Calvin Klein, it's my opinion, based with some articles that I will back with numbers, but it's mainly my opinion, and a lot of people have their own opinion of why it failed. So I want to offer you mine, and with a bit of a business perspective from a college student. Anyway, so why I think Raf failed at CK. So first of all, my first reason is that they failed to gradually introduce a new ideas to their current consumers or current customers. Like the current customers of Calvin Klein is not high fashion because, you know, they go to Marshalls, they go to like cheap clothing store to buy their underwears, their regular t-shirts, they're like fragrances. So like they're used to the price of like $20 to $30 for a t-shirt, $50 to $70 for jeans. And now that you got this incredible designer and you're putting out $500 pairs of t-shirt, $700 pairs of jeans, $2,000 boots, the vision doesn't match. Like they didn't gradually introduce it. And I will offer a remedy for this problem later in how I would fix the brand if I were in charge, or if I were in the boardroom. The previous Calvin Klein products that are offered to the public is like the mid-tier fashion. Can we say that? Because let's say the lower tier is like Forever 21, Shein, Bamboo Man, Boohoo Man, whatever it is. So let's say that's the lower tier. The mid-tier is like Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, what else? Like the mid-tier brand, you know, like Coach, stuff like that. And you know, for people that buy the mid-tier level fashion, like fashion isn't their life. And they have enough money and they know just a little bit of fashion to know that's like, okay, if I wear this, it's a bit more respected than wearing Forever 21, than wearing Shein, than wearing Boohoo Man. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just mid-tier enough to get by, but fashion is not their life and they will not die from going outside dressed like that. I think what the management team at Calvin Klein or PVH did wrong was that they wanted to capture the high-end fashion market. So rather than try to get their current customers to buy into this new brand, which is essentially a new brand, CK205, to get these regular customers, their returning customers, to buy this new product, they're trying to capture an entirely new market, which is the high fashion people, the people that buy Balenciaga t-shirt for $500, the people that buy Gucci loafer for $800. You know what I mean? So rather than try to converting their current customer into customers of this new brand, which is the 205, they try to capture a new market, which you know, resulted in a failure. We can say that now. If you study marketing, or if you know a bit of marketing, you know that it's easier to retain an existing customer rather than capture a new customer altogether or a new market. But yeah, okay, so that's the first reason I believe Raf Simons at Calvin Klein failed, because they didn't try to get their existing customers to buy into this new luxury market, luxury brand that they're trying to sell. Like instead of like taking care of their existing customer, they try to capture a new customer entirely, and I think that was a big mistake. The management team, I think the management team at PVH and at Calvin Klein, it's a complete failure, and like they have the brains of Zoomers. They want Raf to transform this brand that they have been diluting their value into the eyes of the consumers for years, for decades. Most consumers, when they think of high-end luxury fashion, nobody think of Calvin Klein. If you ask me what the first few words that come to mind when I think about Calvin Klein, it's stupid commercials, their underwears, and that's about it. Like that's Calvin Klein, right? It's just their underwears and, you know, like their commercials. That's what they're known for. The Kate Moss commercial, the Mark Wahlberg, the Justin Bieber hashtag my Calvin whatever, like years ago. That's all they're known for. These people in the executive offices at PVH or at Calvin Klein, they've been diluting the brand for years, for decades, and like they're only giving Raf a year, 2 years to transform something that they've been beating the shit down of, to bring it back up to the likes of Celine, Gucci, and Balenciaga. Their attention span, it's so stupid. You have to give them time if you want. I will talk about this later, but Now, I have a few CK205 pieces myself, and trust me when I say I bought them because of Raph. I didn't buy them because of the name CK. I did not want CK written on all my shirt. That's not something I wanted. I wanted to buy what I wanted to buy what Raph was selling me, not what CK was selling me. So I bought CK205 in spite of the CK name. The management team at CK, they think too highly of themselves. They did not realize that they've been diluting their brands for years and for decades, and they just believe that like CK still hold they believe that CK is still like compatible with like Gucci, with Louis Vuitton, even though it's not. It's mid-tier at best. Can we just take a moment to laugh at that together? They saw Gucci failing, right? And then Gucci decided to put Alexandra Makasy. And then overnight, just one collection, they started selling out again. They saw a failing Celine, and then they saw Phoebe Philo come in and turn that into a well-respected, well-sold brand. And they thought, we can do that too with Raf Simons. The executives in the management meeting, like they probably thought,
who's the biggest name that we can bring in? Let's do what Gucci and Celine did. Like that's
honestly, that's probably a conversation they had in that boardroom meeting. Like, I just hire a well-respected designer so they too can turn us into Gucci or the Celine. Celine was already seen as a high fashion brand. The Celine customers, they knew what they needed to pay to get the product that is Celine. Like Phoebe didn't have to convince them to go from $20 t-shirt to $500 t-shirt, $100 coat to $3,000 coat. Phoebe didn't have to do that. Same thing with Gucci, same thing with Alessandro. Like Makasy, he did not have to convince people to stop buying the $70 loafer to the $700 loafers. The loafer was $700 already. He's just making it more modern, and he's making it more hip, more cool, and more trend friendly. Can we say that? Yeah, more trend friendly. You know, with the fur, with the added motif of the bees, the snakes, stuff like that. You know, he modernized a product that was already well respected, and the price point did not change much. They did not jump from $30 to $1,000. They jumped from $700 to $750, $780. They didn't have to do much. Makasy did not have to do much. What Gucci and Celine did was they only changed the creative directors. They did not have to cater to an entirely new market, which is what CK is doing. So you can't use that business model and just apply it to you. It doesn't work that way. The CK brand doesn't have as much value as the Gucci brand or the Celine brand. Another mistake was that letting Raph control the budget. So Raph, he's a creative director. CK has a CEO, they definitely have a budget. They rather essentially, okay, this is what Calvin Klein did to Raph. Here's a candy shop. Go in there, buy whatever you want, do whatever you want. That's essentially what CK said to Raph. So obviously he's gonna go all out, you know. He's gonna hire his friend Sterling Ruby to redesign the main store in New York. The whole marketing, they're gonna hire the Kardashians. He's gonna do everything he wants because you said he could. But the management team needed to set like a limit on Raph because he's there to be the creative director, not to be the financial advisor, you know. He's gonna spend what he believes will fit his narrative, fit his vision for the brand. So that was a mistake, like letting Raph control the money aspect. Limit his spending. Tell him, hey, you have 100K. That's all you can spend. Not here. Just spend whatever and we'll cover it for you. That's essentially what the management said to Raph. So obviously the expenses outweigh the revenue in the first few years because like Raph needed time to turn this brand to a well-respected brand, but you can't do that with 1 year. Like you have to slowly convince the public that, okay, there's the Calvin brand, there's the Calvin 205 brand. They're two completely separate entities, but they didn't give Raph enough time to distinguish the two. So then like people just bought CK. Most people, can we assume that most people bought CK and just assume, okay, you know, Raph probably has a hand in the regular CK and the CK205. So if I just buy the regular CK for $30 instead of the shirt from CK205 for $500, it's probably similar product, right? So let's do that instead. So they just bought the cheaper one. Another thing, like all those partnerships with Andy Warhol, with the university, like the Yale sweater. You remember that whole collection, like, and then the Jaws Jaws collaboration or whatever it is. So like Raph was collaborating with a lot of well-respected brands and names. Like, you know, the Andy Warhol Foundation, they're not gonna give you out Andy Warhol's work for free, you know. So like Raph had to pay a lot of money to use those prints on his clothes, to use what Andy is known for on the collection. So that's a lot of money. So this comes back to like CK giving him unlimited budget. Like that was a mistake. He spent $100, he did not make $200. He spent $100, he made like $102. So that's not enough profit that's not enough revenue to pay everybody and, you know, be profitable afterwards. But that's not Raph's fault, you know, because he's there for the vision. He's just there to change the house. He's not there to look at your budget and be like, okay, here's what we can do to make it more profitable. He's there to create new products. That was his role. The role of the financial aspect should be on the CEO, should be on the bosses, should be people in the management room. They should have limited Raph in his spending. They didn't have to give him the key to the candy shop. Another thing that failed is that the stigma against the CK brand as a whole, the brand name that is Calvin Klein has been diluted for years. It's not seen as high fashion anymore, or never was. Or if it was mid-tier at best. But now you want to enter the luxury market with just one designer and then give him 2 years, like it's not gonna work out. The reason Calvin Klein diluted their brand was because they want the regular general consumer market, not just the high-end luxury market. So when they did that, they diluted their brand. So let's look at it this way. Imagine if Dior were to sell you like a t-shirt in Marshalls and Target for like $30. Like that would not be a good image for Dior, because like if you sell that for $30, every other product in your catalog will look completely out of place. Like $1,000 for a t-shirt, but I can just buy a $30 t-shirt at Target with the same name brand. Like, do you see how that doesn't match? Because like Calvin Klein wanted to capture the best of both worlds. They wanted the general public and they wanted the high fashion market. It doesn't work that way. You can't balance it. Just look at Michael Kors. Like most people, especially me, I do not view Michael Kors as high fashion. Yet they have runways every season. It doesn't work because Michael Kors, like you can get some of their stuff for really cheap at like Targets and shit. So like why would I spend $500 on a t-shirt that says Michael Kors on it? You know what I mean? Like you can't have both. You have to just pick a market and then capitalize the living shit out of it and just squeeze that market, that demographic you want, squeeze that and just get as much money as you can. You can't squeeze the entire demographic. And that's what CK wanted to do with Raph at the helm of CK205. Okay, so another reason why Raph at CK failed was that unrealistic expectations. So in the same article by Vox, it says, by hiring a celebrated fashion talent, the brand hoped for a halo effect. Calvin Klein also believed Raph cachet would translate to sales, declaring that he would help PVH revenue jump to $10 billion. And I believe the revenue before was like 2 to 3 billion. Like, it's unrealistic. In 2 years, you can't turn a company from $2 to $3 billion into $10 billion, like the revenue. Like, it doesn't work that way, especially since you'll be working from behind. Because remember when the Raph was at Dior, he didn't have to convince the Dior customer to pay more. But while he's at Calvin Klein, he has to do that. He has to convince people that are so used to buying $20, $30 items from Calvin Klein to spend $1,000. Like, that's a lot of ass for the general public. Alright, so this is what I would have done if I was in the management room, in the management meeting, if I was an executive at Calvin Klein or PVH. So first thing I would say is that we all need to stop sucking our own dicks, alright? The Calvin Klein brand, it's not as highly looked at as people in those meetings think they are. Bruh. You don't need to put your logo and name everywhere. Bruh. You don't have to do that. Just create. Like, remember how I talked about JW and it's like the turtleneck zipper detail there? There is no logo or branding on there. It's just known to the general public, not to the general public. It's just known to the people who are into fashion that this is JW Anderson. With Calvin Klein, everything has to be, everything they have has to put CK on there or Calvin Klein. Your brand is not that valuable and you don't need to put logo on everything. Just put on a few things and a lot more things, just don't have logos on there. Just design something that is well made. Design something that is new in shape, in material. Another thing that I would say is that have realistic expectations to hope the revenue would jump to 10 billion from $2 to $3 billion. to hope that it's unrealistic. If we were to say, okay, the revenue for 2016 is 2 billion, right? Or let's say 3 billion. The revenue is 3 billions. When we hire Raph, let's hope the first year he brings it up a tick. The second year he brings it up another tick, and not just say,
I got this great designer. Hey guys, $3 billion revenue, I'm gonna turn that into $10 billion revenue with just one guy.
that it's not realistic. So be realistic with your expectation, especially when you know that this designer you're bringing in, he's gonna have to reinvent a lot of things to change the regular perception that is Calvin Klein from a general mid-tier fashion brand into this high fashion brand. So give him time. So instead of just saying 3 billion to 10, I just say 3 billion to 4 billion in the first year, to 5 to 8 to 9 to 10 in 5 to 6 years. That's more realistic and that's more doable, and you could give Raph more time to like achieve that. You know, it's more achievable rather from 3 billion to 10 billions. You want him to triple your revenue in 2 years? That doesn't work. Stop sucking your own dicks, people in the management. Another thing I would have done was give Raph Simon his own website, because when Raph was at the helm of Calvin Klein, they just had a Calvin Klein 205 as like a category. So imagine going on a website to buy, let's say, eggs. You went on this website to buy eggs. Everything is like $2, $2, $2. And then you click on egg 205 and suddenly it's $400 for the same egg, just different print. How fucked up is that? Like, which one are you gonna buy? You know, it doesn't look real. It's like, did I go on another website? Did I click out of this website unknowingly? It's just like, it's so weird, you know? It's like jumping from regular Calvin to Calvin 205. The price point is so vast, but the website is still the same. So it's like, are we looking at the same products? Are we looking at the same catalog? It's so weird and it doesn't work. Like, the interface does not work. Just give him his own website. And you know, I talked a lot about gradual, the word gradual. Like, give Raph a diffusion line, so then people do not have to jump from CK to CK205. They could jump from CK to, let's say, the diffusion line is 102.5, you know? Let's say that, okay? So they're gonna jump from the first tier, which is Calvin Klein, to the diffusion line, and then when they're comfortable with the diffusion line and they understand that, like, this is how much you have to pay for the diffusion. So if you want the real deal, which is CK205, you have to pay more. So it's more gradual. It's not just from 1 step to 10 step. It's not like from $3 billion to $10 billion, you asshats. So talking about this is making me angry. Like, doing this research, writing the scripts is making me angry at just how dumb the executives at CKs are. Like, have realistic expectations, you dumbass. Put Raph Simon's face on the diffusion line. Because, you know, logo and brand sell, right? So just put Raph face and then put Calvin Klein beneath it. That can be the diffusion line. And then with the CK205, be more artistic, you know? Like, let Raph do his own thing. Like, whatever you want to put on there, give him that. But the diffusion line, that can be your cash cow. And then use that cash cow to fund all your higher end artistic vision. It's like Comme des Garçons, you know, the play. A lot of people hate it. A lot of high fashion hate it because they don't want the general public to confuse the play line versus the main line, or the plus or plus. I'm pronouncing it like a douchebag. The plus. You know what I mean? Like the CDG play, that's the cash cow. A lot of people buy it. It's recognizable. It's easy. It's a cardigan with a heart and a face. Whereas the Comme des Garçons mainline, they release stuff like this. So like, use the diffusion line as a cash cow to fund all your visionary stuff, let Raph work his creative out up there, but have a diffusion line. Just put Raph Simon's face, put all your logo, put Raph's name, everything on the diffusion line. And then still have your CK Calvin Klein regular stuff for $20, $30. It'll be more gradual. It's not asking them to jump from $3 billion to $10 billion. I cannot get over that. And by doing this thing gradually, this will give Raph more time to change the perception of the brand that is CK in the mind of the general public. All right, so that's what I would have done as a management. But I also like Raph. Raph is also not in the clear, you know. There's a lot of blame that you can blame on him, so let's do that now. So I think Raph was so used to the high fashion world because he went to Jill Sander. It's in the high fashion level. He went to Dior, it's in the high fashion level. He's now in Prada, it's high fashion. but he applied his own things to Calvin Klein, which is not high fashion anymore. It's mid-tiers at best. So like, he's a bit out of touch with where he was going with this CK partnership. When he was at Jill Sander, when he was at Dior, the executive did not ask him to reinvent the house. They just, okay, give us your vision. The price points will be similar. Our customers know what they're expected to pay. But with Calvin, he just decided to release his stuff with the same price point at his own namesake brand and what Dior and Jill Sander was doing, right? So the dresses for Dior was the same, but when he's at Calvin Klein, it's like a dress for Calvin Klein is like $100. Now he's charging them $5,000, $2,000 for a dress or for a t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like, I hope you know what I'm talking about. He didn't realize that he was working from behind. He didn't realize that Calvin Klein is not the same as Dior or Jill Sander. He's gonna have to do way more than just have a creative collection that will win him awards, and then in turn it will sell well because it's well respected by the magazines, by the newspaper, by the people in the fashion world. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, you have to convince the general public, which is the main consumers of Calvin Klein. But with Dior, he doesn't have to care about the general public opinions of Dior, because he just have to capture the tiny market that is the luxury market. That's all he needs to do. Same thing with Jill Sander, same thing with what he's doing with Prada. So it's two separate things. I think Raph was so used to the high fashion world, he didn't realize that like his partnership with CK, it was not the same thing. Raph, he won a lot of awards when he was at CK, but the management team don't care about that. They look at numbers. They look at your expense, they look at your revenue, and they look at your profit. And it did not translate well. The expense was high, the revenue was low, profit was even lower. So that's all they care about. They don't care how many awards you win. They want money. They care about money. The people in that meeting, they care about $3 billion to $10 billion. They did not care how many awards you're gonna win at CFDA. They did not care. Okay, they just want $3 billion to $10 billion. That was their goal. Like, if you won an award on the path from 3 to 10, that's great for you. But they only care about the 3 billion to 10 billion revenue. That's all they care about. They do not care how many awards you win, Raph. And you know, like, I think another thing that you can say about it is Raph overestimated the knowledge of the general public about his design language. His whole shtick, you know, it's about telling story through his clothes, you know. Like, I think the famous quote that Raph has is like about his collection is showing his past, his present, his future, his attitude. But to the general public, people don't care about that stuff. People that buy CK, they just want nicely made clothes. They don't care about the story as much. You have to slowly and gradually convince them that this is the right price point that you should pay for it. So he overestimated the general public knowledge and care for their clothes. Another thing that I want to say that it was Raph's fault is that he overestimated his influence. So Raf Simons, so his namesake brand, generally successful. He's still independent, so he's doing great. However, most of his stuff still go into a steep sale. A few items sell at the price point, like the retail price. For example, the Raf Simons I Heart New York, those things sold for what the retail for. But most of his stuff, like, I'm just gonna show you some photos right now. Most of his stuff, like, they go into steep sale. And what the management team sees at Calvin Klein sees that you price this item at $1,000, but we only sold for $200. What happened? Yeah, it's great, you won all these awards, but what happened here? Why did we only sell it for $300? Why did we have to put it in such a steep sale? That's all the management care about. So again, back to the numbers: 3 billion to 10 billions. Selling an item for $1,000, putting it retail for $1,000, and only selling for $200-300. That's not gonna work for them. Though his collection may be like critically successful, or is really spoke to his audience, right? To the people that watch his runway shows, it doesn't translate to his numbers. Most of his stuff's going to steep sale, so not everything. It's like 9 out of 10 items from Raf Simons stuff at Calvin Klein, 9 out of 10 they have to go into steep sale just to make some money back. Otherwise, just gonna sit in the warehouse. And you know, he's also working from behind. He's not elevating CK from a regular brand to a high fashion brand. He's trying to elevate CK, which has been diluted for years, into a high fashion brand. Like, that's a lot of asking. Another thing that is partly Raf Simons' fault, but not his fault, but it's like both. It's like the CK team and Raf Simons. him overspending. You know, like, okay, how about let's not hire Sterling Ruby to redesign the main store in New York. Like, just hire like a somewhat well-known artist and Raph tell him his vision, because Sterling, you know, he's well-known, well-respected, so he's gonna charge a lot. So instead of hiring Sterling to just redo the whole store, how about give him a corner and be like, hey, Sterling, you got this one corner? That's your vision. Turn it into whatever you want. The rest of the store, I'm gonna hire someone else. Like, so then the spending will be a lot less now. Or, okay, marketing. Instead of hiring the Kardashians, let's just hire like models, regular models, you know, that doesn't have much Q rating. I think it's Q rating. Is it R rating? Q rating. Q rating is like how brands like calculate the influences of like celebrities. So instead of hiring the Kardashian clan, let's just hire a model. Let's just hire this model on Rico in store that I love her. Her name is Tanya. Let's just hire Tanya to be the face of this new boots, new shirt, whatever it is. You know, just hire a regular model. So she's gonna cost way less than the Kardashian. You know, so I just go there. I just cut your spending by so much already, because they got the entire Kardashian clan to do it. Not just Kendall, not just Kylie. They got everyone, including Kris Jenner. Like, look at this photo. They got everyone. So just know that they paid a lot for this family to model for their clothing. Like, it's a lot of money. And, you know, just overall, I think Raph, he was too confident in who he was and who he is, without knowing the circumstances that he was going into, without knowing the environment he was going into. Like, the team at Calvin, it's PVH or PVC, I think I've been saying it wrong, PVC, PVH, whatever it is, the conglomerate that owns Calvin Klein. They've been diluting the brand for so long, and he was working from behind, but he didn't know it, he didn't realize it. He just spent as he normally would, you know, so that's not gonna work out. He thought he could just do what he did at Jules Sander, but the brand Jules Sander and the brand Calvin Klein, they're at two separate business stage in their lifespan, in their business lifespan. So for the people that didn't go to business school, there are 4 stages in a business life cycle. So introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. I don't need to explain that. And at worst, Jules Sander was at the maturity stage, and Calvin Klein at best, it's at the declining stage. So like, to turn the declining to come back to the growth stage, like, that's a lot of ass. You know, so it's pretty simple. You know, limit his spending, limit his marketing budget. Like, marketing is a lot. So let's compare it to Marvel, right? Let's say the Marvel Eternals movie, like, it cost 300 million, right, to make. But what most people don't realize is that it probably cost $300 million more. Or I think the idea is that if it costs a movie 100 million, it probably costs 50 million to do the marketing, because you can have a great product, but if nobody knows about it, it's just gonna sit. Nobody's gonna know that it's coming out. Nobody knows the date. So the marketing aspect is very important. Maybe I'm biased because I'm in marketing. Yeah, so that's the reason why I think they fail, and that's how I would fix it if I had some sort of influence within the company. So, you know, Calvin Klein, PVC, PVH, if you want to hire a 24-year-old, a recently turned 24 years old college student who graduated with 3.9 GPA, give me a call, send me an email. Even though I just bashed your brand for like 20-30 minutes. But I can help, you know. If you want to capture the luxury market, I can help. I feel like I can help, you know. Just, it's gonna be slow, so give me some time, you know, and have realistic expectations. And please, don't put your logo on everything. You don't need to. You don't need to scream that this is a Calvin Klein product. If people know and like it, they'll know that it's a Calvin Klein product. There's no logo and branding on this. But if you're into fashion, I feel like, you know, this is Army Paris. Oh, another thing they could have done, you know, do what H&M does. You know how like H&M does, every year they collaborate with a high fashion brand. You know how they collaborate with Versace, with Margiela, with Alexander Wang. Like, just do Calvin Klein at Virgil Abloh, Calvin Klein at Heron Preston, Calvin Klein's at Samuel Ross, Calvin Klein at Kim Jones. Just do that yearly, and I'm sure that will bring you a somewhat profit, you know. But you can price your product a bit higher, because your partnership with this high-end name, high-end entity. So you can do what H&M does. You don't have to hire a well-respected designer to turn the entire house. So, you know, just do special collaborations. Nike collaborate with Undercover, with Comb, with everyone. Adidas collaborate with everyone, and they just uptick the charge price a little bit. So, and I'm sure like those products are more profitable too. So, anyway, I don't know if I make a lot of sense throughout this video. I hope I got my point across. I hope you see where I'm going. And obviously, these are my opinions with some facts and number backed up with the Business of Fashion article and Vox article. So I'm not just speaking out of my ass. And it's also just common sense, you know? Like, I feel like I know a little bit of the market. Like, obviously I'm still a child, but I hope it makes sense. And if you disagree with me, it's my opinion. You can disagree, you know? We can talk about this in the comment if you want. Anyway, my name is Makasy. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. One day you might see me at the management team at Calvin Klein. Maybe because of this video.